The boy loved spending time with his stepmother. At night, he would even squeeze onto the same bed and play around with her. His stepmother thought he was just an innocent little child who knew nothing. Although his appearance remained that of a young boy, his mind had already matured into that of a teenager. Before long, her carelessness would lead to serious consequences. To understand the boy's story, we have to start with his mother. As a young girl, Julie grew up alongside her cousin. Their relationship was never accepted by those around them. Eventually, she turned to a wealthy man instead. Out of this complicated love triangle, Oscar was born. Without a doubt, his family background was controversial from the very beginning. Time passed quickly, and the boy slowly grew older. On his third birthday, everyone came to celebrate. His mother gave Oscar a tin drum as a gift. The moment he received it, he couldn't put it down. While exploring the world with his tin drum, he unexpectedly discovered his mother flirting with his uncle. He came to believe that the adult world was full of deception. Thinking he might one day become the same way, he made a shocking decision. Later, Oscar went down to the cellar and set a strange plan into motion. After carefully judging the height of the stairs, he leaped and suffered serious injuries. From that moment on, he stopped growing. He remained trapped in the body of a 3-year-old forever. As if that wasn't strange enough, he also gained a remarkable ability. He could shatter glass with an incredibly high-pitched scream. Whenever someone tried to take away his tin drum, he would let out a piercing scream and drive them away. From then on, the tin drum became his closest companion. But because he never grew up, he was rejected and bullied by children his own age. Aside from beating on his drum, the only thing that made him happy was going into town. Every Thursday, his mother would leave him in a toy store for half an hour. Yet during those 30 minutes, she always found an excuse to leave. As Oscar's mind matured, he secretly followed his mother one day. That was when he discovered she was meeting his uncle in secret. He couldn't understand her actions. This complicated situation caused him a great deal of pain. To get back at his mother, Oscar climbed the town clock tower. He screamed toward the room where she was meeting someone. It was his way of releasing his anger and frustration. The force of his scream shattered the windows and drew a crowd. Only then did his mother realize that her secret had been exposed. Afterward, she took Oscar to a circus performance. All the little people there looked just like him. For the first time, Oscar felt like he had found people who understood him. There he met Barbara. He was the leader of the troupe. After learning about Oscar's unusual ability, Barbara sincerely invited him to join the circus. But Oscar turned him down. He preferred observing the world from the sidelines. He had no desire to perform for the entertainment of others. As time passed, Oscar turned 14. Around that time, his mother became pregnant again. The child's background was just as complicated as before. Perhaps out of guilt toward her husband, her mental state began to deteriorate. She spent her days staring into space or overeating. She even believed Oscar's condition was punishment for her past mistakes. She didn't want history to repeat itself, yet she couldn't bring herself to give up the unborn child. Gradually, she fell into despair. Eventually, the overwhelming emotional burden led to her passing. At the funeral, Oscar watched as dirt slowly covered his mother's coffin. His face showed no emotion. He simply sat there beating his tin drum. It was the first time he had truly encountered death. He couldn't even describe what he was feeling. All he could do was seek comfort in his grandmother's embrace. A few years later, World War II broke out. His Polish uncle was killed by German forces. After that, Oscar could only rely on the man who had raised him. By then, he was already 16 years old. Although he still looked like a child, he was far more capable than anyone imagined. One day, his grandmother brought home a maid named Maria. Young and beautiful, she immediately caught Oscar's attention, and her arrival once again disrupted the peace of the household. Maria was completely at ease around him. She believed he was nothing more than a 3-year-old child. What she didn't realize was that he was actually 16 years old. After Maria arrived, Oscar constantly found reasons to stay close to her. As he gradually developed special feelings for Maria, he discovered that she had grown close to his father. Before long, Maria became pregnant. Soon afterward, she became Oscar's stepmother. But deep down, Oscar knew the situation was far more complicated than it appeared. The celebration outside reminded him of his own 3rd birthday. To his horror, he realized he had become part of the very world he once despised. Filled with despair, Oscar finally left the home that had become unbearable to him. He sought out Barbara, the little person he had met years earlier at the circus. Through him, he met a young woman named Roswitha. Using his unusual talent, he drew a heart on a glass. That simple gesture completely won her over. Oscar joined the circus and traveled from place to place performing. For the first time in years, he felt truly at ease. Everyone in the circus carried struggles similar to his own. Sadly, the happiness didn't last. Not long after he and Roswitha fell in love, the horrors of war caught up with them. Roswitha lost her life during a bombardment. What had just begun as a beautiful romance turned into heartbreak. Their love blossomed during wartime, only to wither away because of it. With nowhere else to go, Oscar eventually returned home. By then his son was already 3 years old. As promised, he handed down his beloved tin drum to him, but Maria greeted him coldly. She was not happy to see him return. Before long, the war reached their town. His father led the family into the cellar for safety, but they were eventually discovered by Soviet soldiers. The soldiers searched the house for German military items. Oscar slipped a German badge into his father's hand. In desperation, his father tried to hide it, but the situation quickly spiraled out of control. The soldiers noticed what had happened, and his father lost his life in the chaos that followed. At his father's funeral, Oscar buried the tin drum alongside him. Then a stone thrown by his son struck him in the head. Strangely enough, Oscar suddenly began growing again. In the end, Maria, her son and Oscar left the city behind. Together they set out to begin a new life.